The Daily Stoic, by Ryan Holiday and Stephen Hanselman. Imagine for a moment, it's 1965. A fighter pilot is soaring high above the rice paddies of Vietnam. His name is James Stockdale. Suddenly, a deafening crack echoes through his cockpit. The plane is hit. It's going down. As he ejects and begins his long, slow parachute descent into an enemy village, he knows what's coming. He isn't just facing capture, he's facing years of imprisonment, torture, and isolation. Most people would be consumed by pure, paralyzing terror. But Stockdale had a thought. A single, clarifying thought that would become his shield for the next 7.5 years in the infamous Hanoi Hilton prison camp. He told himself, I am leaving the world of technology and entering the world of Epictetus. Epictetus, an ancient philosopher, a former slave who lived nearly 2,000 years ago. What on earth could a man who lived in chains in ancient Rome offer a fighter pilot falling from the sky in the 20th century? What secret did he know? That secret is the heart of a philosophy that has guided emperors, artists, entrepreneurs, and warriors for centuries. It's a way of life known as Stoicism. And today, we're going to unlock its timeless wisdom through the lens of a modern classic that has brought this ancient practice to millions, The Daily Stoic, by Ryan Holiday and Stephen Hanselman. This isn't just a book, it's an operating system for the human mind. It has been embraced by Super Bowl-winning coaches, CEOs of global companies, and countless individuals looking for strength and tranquility in a chaotic world. And my promise to you is this: by the end of our time together, you will understand the 3 fundamental disciplines that form the bedrock of this powerful philosophy. You'll learn not just to endure hardship, but to find advantage in it. You'll see how to quiet the noise in your own head and find a sense of purpose and calm, no matter what life throws your way. This isn't just a history lesson. It's a roadmap to a stronger, wiser, and more resilient you. So let's begin our journey and discover the art of living. Before we can even begin to understand what Stoicism is, we have to understand what it is not. When we hear the word Stoic today, we picture someone who is cold, emotionless, who grits their teeth and suppresses everything they feel. But that couldn't be further from the truth. The ancient Stoics, men like the Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius, the powerful political advisor Seneca, and the former slave-turned-teacher Epictetus, were not emotionless. They were masters of their emotions. They understood that a life ruled by fleeting feelings, by anger, by fear, by jealousy, was a form of slavery. True freedom, they believed, came from within. But how do you achieve that? In a world full of things you can't control? The weather, the economy, what other people think of you, and even your own health. It can feel like you're just a pawn in a game you don't understand. The authors of The Daily Stoic, Ryan Holiday and Stephen Hanselman, spent years studying these ancient texts and found that the Stoics organized their entire philosophy around a simple, practical framework. It's a framework built on 3 critical disciplines. Think of them as 3 pillars that hold up the house of a well-lived life. The first is the discipline of perception. This is about how we see the world, how we interpret the events that happen to us. The second is the discipline of action. This is about the decisions we make and the actions we take. It's about doing the right thing, for the right reasons. And the third is the discipline of will. This is about how we handle the things we cannot change. It's about acceptance, resilience, and understanding our place in the grand scheme of things. Perception, action, will. That's it. That's the entire system. And our journey today will follow that very path. We'll explore each of these disciplines, not as abstract theories, but as practical tools you can start using the moment you finish listening. So, where do we begin? We begin where the Stoics always began, with the one distinction that changes everything. It all starts with our perception. The Stoics believe that most of our suffering in life doesn't come from the events themselves, but from the judgments we make about them. A flight gets delayed. You lose your job. Someone says something unkind. These things are not inherently bad, they are simply external events. They are objective. What makes them bad is the story we tell ourselves about them. This is a disaster. My life is ruined. How could they do this to me? That story, that judgment, is where the pain comes from. And this leads us to the single most important practice in all of Stoic philosophy. Epictetus called it the chief task in life. It's the art of differentiating between what we can change and what we can't. Imagine you're standing in front of two circles. In one circle are all the things you have complete control over. In the other are all the things you have absolutely no control over. Now, what goes in that first circle? The one with things you control? Your job? No, your boss could fire you. Your relationships? No, people can change their minds. Your health? You can influence it, but you can't fully control it. Your reputation? That's entirely in the hands of others. The Stoics tell us that the first circle is actually very, very small. It contains only one thing: your reasoned choice. Your prohairesis. That's your ability to use your reason to choose how you respond to things. That's it. Your thoughts, your judgments, your decisions. That is your kingdom. Everything else? The weather, the traffic, what other people say, whether you get sick, whether you get praised, whether you get fired, all of that goes in the second circle. The circle of things you do not control. A wise person, a Stoic, understands this distinction with absolute clarity. They pour all of their energy into the first circle, their own choices and responses, and they learn to accept everything in the second circle with grace and tranquility. Think about how much energy we waste fighting battles we can never win. We yell at the airline representative about a storm. We wish we were taller, or born into a different family. We try desperately to make someone like us. All of this is time and energy spent hurling ourselves against immovable objects. The Stoics would say this is madness. The path to serenity, to what they called ataraxia, a state of inner calm, is to accept the things you cannot change, have the courage to change the things you can, and the wisdom to know the difference. This isn't about being passive. It's about being strategic. It's about focusing your power where it has an effect. Marcus Aurelius, the most powerful man in the world, would wake up each morning and remind himself of this. He would write in his private journal, which we now know as meditations. He'd say to himself something like this: "Today I will encounter busybodies, ingrates, egomaniacs, liars, the jealous, and cranks. They are like this because they don't know the difference between good and evil. But I do. And I know that none of them can harm me, because they cannot implicate me in ugliness." What he meant was that someone else's bad behavior is in their circle of control, not his. He couldn't stop them from being a jerk. But he could control whether he allowed their jerkiness to disturb his own peace of mind. He could choose not to respond with anger. He could choose to respond with kindness, or even better, with indifference. This is the power of perception. It's not about denying reality. It's about choosing your reality. You don't control the event, but you control the story you tell yourself about the event. And that changes everything. The Stoics had a powerful exercise for this. They would practice seeing things with what they called an objective representation. They would strip away the emotional language and just state the facts. Is your son sick? The fact is, he has a fever. The story you're adding is, what if he has a terrible disease? What if he dies? Marcus Aurelius would advise himself to just stick to the facts. My son is sick. That's it. Don't add anything else. Don't tell yourself terrifying stories. That fine wine you're so impressed with? It's just fermented grape juice. That fancy robe? It's just sheep's wool dyed with shellfish blood. That active sex you crave? It's just the rubbing of private parts and a brief spasm. This might sound cynical, but it's not. It's a tool for clarity. It's about breaking the spell that our desires and fears cast over us. It's about seeing things as they truly are, not as our emotions paint them to be. By mastering our perceptions, by focusing only on what we can control, we build what the Stoics called an inner citadel, a fortress inside our minds that no external event, no matter how terrible, can ever breach. Stuff cannot touch the soul. That's the first discipline. And it's the foundation for everything else. Because once you can see the world with clarity, you are ready to act in it with purpose. This brings us to the second pillar, the discipline of action. Knowing the right thing to do is one thing. Actually doing it is another entirely. The discipline of action is about closing that gap. It's about taking our clear perceptions and turning them into effective, virtuous action in the world. For the Stoics, this wasn't about grand, heroic gestures. It was about the small things, done consistently, day after day. Their guiding question was simple: what is my job right now? And the answer, in any situation, was always rooted in virtue. The four cardinal virtues of Stoicism were wisdom, justice, courage, and temperance or self-control. Every situation, every moment, was an opportunity to practice one of these. Are you dealing with a difficult person? Your job is to practice patience and kindness, temperance and justice. Are you facing a scary decision? Your job is to act with courage. Are you confused about what to do? Your job is to seek clarity and understanding wisdom. Marcus Aurelius would often say, "Your vocation is to be a good person. That's it. Whatever else you do, whether you're an emperor or a blacksmith, a parent or a student, your primary job is to be a good human being." This focus on our duty, on our job, is incredibly clarifying. It cuts through all the excuses and distractions. We often ask ourselves, what's in it for me? Or will people be impressed? Or is this the easiest path? The Stoic asks a different set of questions. What is the right thing to do? What does this situation require of me? How can I be of service? This idea is beautifully captured in another key Stoic concept, sympathia. This is the belief that all things are interconnected, that we are all part of a larger whole. We are like bees in a hive. And what is not good for the hive is not good for the bee. Our actions, therefore, should always be directed toward the common good. This isn't some fuzzy, abstract idea. It's intensely practical. It means that in our daily lives, we should strive to be helpful, kind, and fair to the people around us. Because in helping them, we are also helping ourselves. We are strengthening the hive. The writer and abolitionist Thomas Wentworth Higginson, who led the first all-black regiment in the Civil War and was a great admirer of the Stoics, embodied this. His duty wasn't just to himself or his career, it was to a cause larger than himself, the cause of justice and freedom. He knew that his personal actions had a ripple effect. But what happens when our actions are blocked? What happens when we try to do the right thing, and something gets in our way? This is where one of the most powerful ideas in all of Stoicism comes into play. It's a concept that Ryan Holiday wrote an entire best-selling book about, called The Obstacle is the Way. Marcus Aurelius put it like this: the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. What does this mean? It means that any obstacle, any setback, any failure, can be turned into an opportunity. It's a kind of mental alchemy. If someone is rude to you, that's an opportunity to practice patience and forgiveness. If you get a flat tire, that's an opportunity to practice resourcefulness and calm under pressure. If you face a devastating diagnosis, like Franklin Delano Roosevelt did with polio, it's an opportunity to develop unimaginable inner strength and empathy. The obstacle is not something to be avoided or cursed. It is the raw material for our growth. It is the sparring partner that makes us stronger. The wrestler doesn't get better by avoiding tough opponents. He gets better by facing them. Life is more like wrestling than dancing. We must be prepared for unexpected attacks. The Stoic mind is infinitely adaptable. It has what Seneca called a reverse clause. When we set out to do something, we mentally add, "if nothing prevents me." We hope for the best, but we are prepared for the worst. And if the worst happens, we know that it, too, can be turned to our advantage. This isn't about pretending that bad things are good. It's about finding the good in the bad things. It's about understanding that while we don't control what happens, we always control how we respond. And in that response lies our power. You can build your life, Marcus says, action by action. And no one can stop you from that. An external obstacle might block a specific action, but it can't block your intention to act with justice, self-control, and wisdom. You just shift your attention to what is given, and another action immediately takes its place, one that better fits the life you are building. You see how this all connects? The discipline of perception gives us the clarity to see what is in our control. The discipline of action gives us the framework to act virtuously within that sphere of control. But there is one final piece. The most challenging of all. What do we do with the things that are truly out of our hands? The things we cannot turn into an advantage? The things that just are. Pain, loss, death. This is the domain of the third and final pillar, the discipline of will. The discipline of will is our fortress for the things we cannot change. It is our training in resilience, fortitude, and acceptance. It is, perhaps, the most difficult and the most profound of the three disciplines. It begins with a simple, humbling acknowledgement: we are not in charge of the universe. There is a larger order, a grand design. The Stoics called it the logos, and we are just a small part of it. Think of yourself as a dog leashed to a moving cart. The cart is fate, destiny, the will of the universe. You have some slack in the leash. You can sniff around, you can walk at your own pace for a bit. But ultimately, the cart is going where it's going. You have a choice: you can trot along happily, or you can be painfully dragged. The Stoic chooses to trot along happily. This isn't fatalism. It's not about giving up. It's about surrendering to what is, so that you can have the strength to deal with it. The great German writer Goethe, another admirer of the Stoics, said we must learn to stand in entrenched necessity. We must build our lives on the bedrock of reality, not on the shifting sands of our wishes. This acceptance is captured in a powerful Latin phrase that the philosopher Nietzsche would later champion: amor fati, a love of fate. It's not just about accepting what happens. It's about loving it. It's about seeing everything that happens in your life, the good, the bad, the ugly, as necessary and essential. It's about understanding that if you were to remove any single event from your past, you would not be the person you are today. So you don't just tolerate it. You embrace it. You are grateful for it. You wish for things to happen as they do, and your life will go well. This is a radical idea. It means that when you face a setback, you don't say, "Why me?" You say, "This, too, is part of my path. I will love this." How do we cultivate this kind of strength? The Stoics had a practice for it. It's called premeditatio malorum. The premeditation of evils. This sounds dark, but it's actually a tool for resilience and appreciation. Each morning, you take a moment to imagine the things that could go wrong in your day. You could get stuck in traffic. Your boss could yell at you. You could get sick. You could lose someone you love. You could even die. The point of this exercise is not to be morbid. It's to do two things. First, it inoculates you against surprise. As Seneca said, what is unexpected is the heaviest blow. If you've already thought about the possibility of something happening, it loses its power to shock and crush you when it does. You've rehearsed for it. Second, it makes you incredibly grateful for what you have, right now. After you've spent a moment contemplating the loss of your health, your job, your loved ones, how much more do you appreciate them? How much more precious does this present moment become? You go about your day not taking anything for granted. Every moment becomes a gift. And this brings us to the ultimate premeditation, memento mori. Remember, you will die. This is the great secret that gives life its meaning. The Stoics were not afraid of death. They were afraid of an unlived life. They knew that the thought of our own mortality is the most powerful motivator there is. It clarifies our priorities like nothing else. As Marcus Aurelius wrote to himself, you could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think. If you knew today was your last day, would you waste it on petty arguments? Would you scroll mindlessly through social media? Would you worry about what other people think? Of course not. You would focus on what truly matters. You would tell the people you love that you love them. You would do your work with integrity. You would savor the simple beauty of being alive. The awareness of death doesn't make life depressing. It makes it vibrant. It makes it urgent. It strips away the inessential and leaves only what is true. This, then, is the discipline of will. It is the art of accepting what is outside our control, of preparing ourselves for adversity, and of using the thought of our own mortality to live a full and virtuous life. It is the final piece of the Stoic puzzle. It is the deep, unshakable strength that comes from knowing that whatever happens, you will be okay. Because you have your inner citadel. You have your reasoned choice. And you have the will to endure, to accept, and even to love, whatever fate may bring. So, there we have it. The three disciplines of the Stoic life. Perception, to see things clearly, for what they are. Action, to act with virtue and for the common good. Will, to accept and love what we cannot change. The beauty of this framework, and the reason the Daily Stoic has resonated so deeply, is its practicality. This isn't a philosophy you just think about. It's a philosophy you do. Every day. The book is structured as 366 meditations, one for each day of the year. This is by design. The Stoics were pioneers of the morning and evening ritual. In the morning, they would prepare for the day ahead. They would remind themselves of their principles. They would practice that premeditatio malorum, thinking about the challenges they might face. In the evening, they would review their day. Seneca described this practice in a letter to his brother. He would ask himself, what bad habit did I curb today? How am I better? Were my actions just? What could I improve? This is the work. It's a daily practice of self-examination and self-improvement. It's not about achieving perfection. The Stoics knew that the perfect sage was an ideal, not a reality. It's about making progress. Little by little, day by day. Brick by boring brick. It's about showing up. Showing up for your training. Showing up for your duty. Showing up for life. And that's the final, and perhaps most important, lesson. This journey is a marathon, not a sprint. You will have days when you forget your principles. You will get angry. You will be fearful. You will desire things outside of your control. And that's okay. Marcus Aurelius, even late in his life, was still writing these reminders to himself. He was still struggling. He was still a work in progress. And so are we. When you stumble, when you lose your composure, the key is to get back to the rhythm as quickly as possible. To return to your principles. To remember what your job is. To be a good person. That is the art of living. A quiet, steady, and resilient pursuit of virtue, day after day, until our time is up. When you step back and look at the world we live in today, the constant noise, the endless distractions, the pressure to always want more, it's easy to feel overwhelmed. It's easy to feel like our happiness is always just around the corner, waiting for us after the next promotion, the next purchase, the next like. The wisdom of the Stoics offers a powerful antidote. It's a call to turn inward. It tells us that the peace and freedom we seek are not out there, in the world of external things. They are right here, inside us, in the fortress of our own minds. The most powerful lesson from the Daily Stoic is not any single quote or idea, but the cumulative effect of the practice itself. It's the realization that you have more power than you think. You have the power to choose your response. You have the power to find meaning in adversity. You have the power to live a life of purpose and virtue, no matter your circumstances. This isn't about becoming an emperor or a hero. It's about becoming the best version of yourself. And the path to that is simple, though not always easy. So, here are a few practical things you can do, starting today, to bring this philosophy into your life. First, the next time you feel a surge of a negative emotion, anger, anxiety, frustration, just pause. Take a breath. And ask yourself that simple question: is this in my control, or out of my control? Just that one question can create a space between the event and your reaction, and in that space lies your freedom. Second, try the evening review tonight. Before you go to sleep, take just 5 minutes to reflect on your day. Don't judge yourself harshly. Just ask, where was I at my best today? Where did I stumble? What can I learn from it? This simple act of self-awareness is the engine of all progress. And finally, embrace one small obstacle. Whatever it is, a frustrating task at work, a difficult conversation you've been avoiding, a physical challenge, don't just endure it. See it as your training. Ask yourself, what virtue can this help me practice? See if you can turn what stands in the way into the way. These are not just philosophical exercises. They are tools for living. And the more you use them, the sharper they become. That was the book summary of the Daily Stoic by Ryan Holiday and Stephen Hanselman. We certainly journeyed through the core of its wisdom today, but I'll be completely honest with you. Listening to a summary is like looking at a map of a beautiful country. The real adventure, the real transformation, happens when you decide to take the trip yourself. The magic of this book is in the daily ritual, the quiet moment each morning when a single idea lands in just the right way and changes the color of your entire day. This summary is your invitation. If anything we've talked about has sparked something in you, I encourage you to pick up a copy. Reading it isn't just about learning. It's an experience that can genuinely fortify your mind and spirit for the art of living. You can find a link to the book in the description below. Also, if this journey through ancient wisdom has brought you some value today, it would mean the world to me if you'd hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. That way, you won't miss our next deep dive into another life-changing book. Let's keep exploring these powerful ideas and growing together. Thank you for listening. And remember, you have the power to make today a good day. Just choose to.